You know, I'm a part of a leadership program, and one of the things we talk about often is making your mission greater than your fears.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because oftentimes you are stepping into the unknown, but not just stepping into the unknown, you have lives that are sort of depending on the work that you're doing, right?
Absolutely.
And the team that you're building. It depends on you making the right decisions.
Right, right.
Right?
Absolutely. And then sometimes you make the wrong decisions. And then you learn and you pivot and you figure out, okay, well, we're not going to do that again.
Right?
Hello, and welcome to the Leadership Reality Podcast with your girl, Taiji Charity. This podcast is for C-suite leaders to discuss their experiences and provide insight, encouragement, and inspiration for seasoned and inspiring leaders, offering valuable solutions to today's challenges that will inspire, ignite, and invigorate new and seasoned leaders to walk in their God-given authority with compassion, kindness, and empathy. So sit back, relax, and be prepared to be inspired with today's episode of Leadership Reality. Thank you.
Welcome to another episode of Leadership Realities with me, Taiji Charity, where we will be sharing tales from the top. My guest today is an angel on earth for youth in foster care, Miss Arzo Yusuf. Arzo is a political asylum refugee born in Afghanistan and raised in California. She has an extensive experience in process development, operations management, and business development. Arzo is the 2024 recipient of the Americorps President's Volunteer Service Award. In 2023, she received the Century City Community Champion Award. Arzo is the executive director and former board president of Angel's Nest, a nonprofit helping homeless foster youth. Such an appropriate title. Her advocacy for foster youth includes the film Breaking the Cycle and a TED Talk entitled End Sex Trafficking by Helping Foster Youth. Drawing from lived experience, she also speaks publicly on behalf of the National Coalition of Domestic Violence. She received a presidential appointment to serve on the board of directors of the League of Women Voters. She also sits on the board of directors for the Century City Chamber of Commerce and is the co-chair of its Women's Business Council. Her hobbies include sailing, painting, and listening to jazz. You need a hobby doing this work. Arzo, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Taiji. I'm so excited to be here. I've followed your career for many, many years.
Aww.
I've watched you receive awards on stage, so I think it's just lovely that you and I get to sit here and chat finally.
Yay! I am so grateful. I have to say, even before we jump in, how I really got to know Arzo. I had met her before, and I couldn't put I didn't have the face and the name together at the time, but you were truly an angel for one of our youth just a couple of weeks ago when we were trying to find an emergency placement, and one phone call led to another phone call that ended up connecting the two of us. And you were like, yeah, I know Taiji. And I was like, oh my God, where we met? And you provided housing, temporary housing through a voucher for one of our youth, which was definitely, I call it a ram in the bush for one of our youth. But then when you came to the studio and walked in the office, I'm like, I know you. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I'm excited to just hear about your journey. First, I want to know, though, give me a little bit more about Angel's Nest, and then we'll talk about just your journey into leadership and when you discovered that you were a true leader.
Well, thank you. Well, I've been with Angel's Nest for almost 10 years, and I was in a transitionary period in my life. I had just gotten out of an abusive relationship, and I was looking to just rebuild myself. And helping out with the community has always been something that has given me grounding and has helped center me. And so I was looking for an organization to get involved with. Somebody mentioned Angel's Nest, so I attended a meeting, and we all kind of liked each other, and I liked their vision.
That's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Makes life easier.
It does. And I learned about their program, and I had not ever known really what happens in foster care. So I knew it was a program helping transition age foster youth with housing. And so getting involved in that organization really was the first time I was exposed to what happens with kids in foster care. And it was really shocking to me.
Yeah.
And we had, at the time, I was on the board and then eventually became the board president. And I got to spend time with the youth and learn their stories. And that's when it really
Hits home, right?
It really hit home.
You can't hear these stories and then walk away.
You can't. And that's how it was for me. And I thought to myself, this happens in America. This is happening in our foster care system. This is California. This is not a third world country. And so it affected me so profoundly that I just couldn't turn away.
Yes.
And so I just essentially dedicated myself to the cause and the mission.
I can relate on so many levels. Tell us a little bit about the mission of Angel's Nest.
Absolutely. So the mission is really to focus on the transition-aged youth population that typically will end up homeless, that have so many staggering statistics working against them.
Right.
And so our goal is really to capture them at that transitionary period and help them get onto a path of success. So our tagline is the foster care to success pipeline. And we've heard of the foster care to prison pipeline and so many other things. And so we want to change that and work with partners throughout Los Angeles County and throughout California to make that happen and provide various types of support. So we provide tuition for school, we provide emergency housing, we provide rent support, emergency groceries, and most recently we opened up our own housing program.
Wow. We need about how many Angel's Nest in California, right?
Lots. We need lots.
Lots, because the statistics of youth and especially youth from foster care and homelessness is a very daunting number.
It is.
Right?
It is.
And I just, so we need multiple Angel's Nests, but thank you for the work that you're doing.
Of course.
But talking about leadership, when did you first know you were a leader, or you first identified these leadership qualities within yourself?
Sure, thank you. I would probably have to say, I think leadership is one of those things that either it comes from within you or you can learn it with mentors and whatnot.
Ooh, sound like a Peter Drucker quote. I like it.
And I was the oldest child in my family. I was the oldest granddaughter. And growing up, our family life was also very tumultuous, which is another reason why I'm able to relate to the youth that have experienced being in foster care. And being the person that your parents rely on, you're always rising to the occasion. You kind of think you're an adult when you're really not.
Right.
So it works for you and it works against you. And in one sense, you take on this this adult role before you're really ready, but it also kind of prunes you.
Yes.
And so certain situations that you might be afraid of, or most people might be afraid of, because of certain things I'd experienced when I was younger, some of that fear had dissipated.
Yeah.
So I think those types of things help kind of mold you. And then I just have always looked towards strong leaders and worked with them a lot of times. And so learning from other people, reading different biographies of amazing people, that's always helped.
Okay, and we're going to talk about some of those people in a little bit too. What has been the joy and the challenge of being a leader of a nonprofit organization with such a huge, impactful mission? What has that been like, building your team and doing the work?
Honestly, it's been absolutely amazing. Yes, it's been amazing. It has definitely not been without its challenges. So many challenges over the years to get us to this place. As an organization, we face challenges. As an individual, as a leader, I face challenges. But to get it to this point and to really see the mission and the dream really start to flourish and start to come to a reality, it's pretty, it's humbling.
Yes.
It's humbling, and it's exciting, and there are moments of fear where you think, can I really do this? We said we're going to do X, Y, and Z. We're getting there. It's happening. Can I sustain it? Can we sustain it?
Yes.
So there's lots of different feelings that come along with it.
I'm a part of a leadership program, and one of the things we talk about often is making your mission greater than your fears.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because oftentimes you are stepping into the unknown, but not just stepping into the unknown, you have lives that are sort of depending on the work that you're doing, right? And the team that you're building. It depends on you making the right decisions.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely. And then sometimes you make the wrong decisions. And then you learn and you pivot and you figure out, okay, well, we're not going to do that again.
Right.
We got to do this.
Well, I've had a lot of those.
Absolutely. And then, you have to trust yourself. You have to make changes and be in flow. I like to, I don't think I've ever said this out loud, but I like to think of our organization as a living organization. It's not static. It's always moving. So if certain things need to happen for us to evolve and to change to make a workflow happen, we're going to do that. And we're small enough where we can make those pivots and changes probably better than some of the larger institutional organizations could.
Yeah. I guess that's the benefit of having sort of grassroots. But you guys are a pretty big organization, right?
I mean, we've helped in the last year about 500 youth.
Yes. Nice.
Yeah.
That's a really solid number.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of people to be able to serve that many youth. So with that in mind, most of your team, if not all, have either lived experience, right?
They're all former foster youth.
Oh. You know, that gets me really excited. Let's talk about that, because I know that probably comes with its challenges too. Having a staff of formal youth that have been impacted by the system. And I'm sure it comes with its rewards as well. Talk about your leadership style when it comes to working with building young professionals.
Absolutely. Similar to what you guys are doing, we've partnered with iFoster.
Yes.
And iFoster is
We
an amazing
love
organization.
iFoster.
Yes, we do. They're a great organization, and their team has been absolutely amazing. And we brought on, when we first launched the program about a year ago, our Resource Navigator program, which is the program that has all of the staff that's fully former foster youth, we started focusing on building trust from the get-go. And we didn't just jump into work because I also didn't know what this was going to be like. I didn't know what I was going to be facing. I didn't know what they could tolerate. So we took some time to just, aside from their trainings that they had done with iFoster, we did our own trainings, but we spent time just team building and building trust, and then slowly getting into the work. And I also incorporated them in the decision-making process of how we build the process of what things we want to support, what types of requirements should we have. And because they have the lived experience, they brought a whole other perspective that I may not have known about.
Smart.
So they've been involved in building what we have so far.
I love that. How do you do these trust type building exercises? Like, what does that look like?
You know, a lot of patience. So for example, one of the things that we did from the beginning was talk about our experiences and giving them the freedom that if they want to share their life experience, they can, and if they don't feel comfortable, they don't have to.
That's good.
And so giving that empowerment and that choice to them. And some of them wanted to share, and so they shared of their life experiences. We had group sessions, and that started to kind of build some trust. And they started to see that I'm a compassionate person, that I'm an understanding person. I'm empathetic, and I care about their well-being. I care about their safety, their emotional safety, and I will work with them based on what they're capable of doing.
That's good.
And eventually start pushing them to get outside of their comfort zones.
That's so good.
But it takes time to get there.
It does take time to get there. And it's one of the things that I wish I had done early on, because we jumped in and we got so busy doing the work. And when you're working in filmmaking, everything is fast paced and we're cranking out their stories and producing their films. But as we started to build the team, I really wish we had really taken time to just establish those trust-based exercises and things like that. We're working on some of that now because we've learned that, some things happen. You're like, wait a minute, how did we get here?
Exactly.
And now it's like, okay, now we have to really sit back and invest in the team and build the team. And it's been a challenge.
It can definitely be a challenge. And just to give you also a sense of not regretting that you did it differently, from the start. So even though I did it this way, we still face challenges. And so sometimes it can also set a precedence of, well, this is somebody that understands me, and if I need to not come in or if I have these issues, this person's gonna be very understanding. And so when we start to up our accountability, because it is a job, then there's pushback.
Friction and
there's
pushback.
friction.
Yes, that's the hard thing.
Yeah, so that's the hard thing. And at the end of the day, these programs, iFoster exists so that these youth can learn and they can gain work experience. And in our environment, we want it to be a safe place where they can learn. Because once they're out in the real world, no one is going to care that they have a kid in foster care too.
Right.
No one is going to care that they have a mental health issue.
Right.
So we give them a
This
little
is
bit
the safe space.
This is the safe space.
Yes.
So we'll give them the space. We'll work through it with them. But we also talk about accountability.
That accountability piece is so very important. And I tell my team all the time, especially the team that are over some of the youth that are in our program, like, we cannot afford to set them up for failure.
Exactly.
This is a safe place.
Yeah.
A lot of things happen here. Well, okay, that's okay. We'll let that slide. We'll let that slide. We'll let that slide.
Right.
But at some point, you have got to enforce policies and procedures, because when they move from here, and of course we want them to be at the seat of making decisions, at the table of making decisions. We want them in the executive roles. And you can't always show up the way you want to show up, how you want to show up, or don't communicate clearly, you know, what's happening, or if you're going to be there, if you're not going to be there. So we have to hold them accountable at the same time of really supporting them on their journey to learning.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. And I think that one of the things that I like to do is careful how I give them praise and critical feedback.
Ooh.
And so I'm careful how I word things.
That's good.
I focus on their strengths. I always make sure to point out their strengths.
Yes.
Because people can get sensitive.
Yes.
And, you know, you want to give them that constructive feedback on their areas of improvement.
Yes.
And that's what I like to say, an area of improvement, instead of this is your strength, this is your weakness.
Right.
Weakness always makes somebody feel like, oh, well, I'm not good enough.
Right.
And it's not about that. It's not about you not being good enough. You're amazing. You're wonderful. But this part of your professionalism could be better based on this, this, and this.
That's so good, because I really like to encourage people to really focus on the strengths, right? Because oftentimes when you hear about a weakness, you want to take time trying to fix that. And it's like, but the weakness may be something you're just not good at. And I need to know if this is an area you're just not good at, I need to place you in an area where your strengths can shine.
Exactly.
But I know for me, because I have a very strong presence, I have a very strong voice, when I go to have those hard conversations, I don't care how I try to pacify it, passively present it, I always feel like, oh, I don't know how they're going to receive it.
And you know what? At the end of the day, you know, we can't always baby people either.
Right.
So sometimes,
That's
you know,
good.
they have to take the hard truth, and they can take it.
Yes.
They can take it.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, especially if
Absolutely.
you've built that trust and you've built
And they
the
know
rapport.
your heart. That's the thing I say. When you know the heart behind it, you know not to take it personal. Because if we're having the conversation, we're having it because I see what's on the inside, and I see that we just need to help pull it out and get you there, but you can. So we set the expectations really high for our young people. And I'm sure, I know you do the same.
I do. And sometimes I think, you know, maybe I'm asking too much of them.
We never know till we start.
That's right. And, you know, and in all honesty, I don't even think they know, because they don't have the context to know how good a job they're actually doing.
Right.
And I'm like very proud of them. I didn't know this was going to work. When I talked to iFoster in the beginning, they said, "Can you take this many youth? What do you think?" I said, "I don't know. Let's try and see what happens."
That's good.
And so we tried, and some things worked and some things didn't work. But overall, they exceeded my expectations significantly.
I can relate.
Yeah.
We have and we sent some of our youth to iFoster just so we could hire them back. Like, here, go to iFoster, get ready, get registered, and all of that. But you got to come back here, okay?
Yes.
And it's just, for me, it's a joy to see them just excel at some of the things, and also tap into some of the gifts that we didn't know they had. And I'm learning things all the time. They're like, "Oh yeah, I do that. Oh yeah, I do." I'm like, "What else do you do?" Right?
Yep.
So it's good. I like to say, give them a platform to shine, and they will. They will do it. They will do it every time.
Absolutely.
So what are like some of the long-term goals for you as a leader and for you and the organization?
Sure. You know, I mean, as a leader, I'm always growing. I'm always learning, putting myself in uncomfortable situations, because that is how you grow. And I chair these different organizations, or I participate on different boards, some to be able to bring some of my skill set, some of my experience to help the organization. And it's reciprocal, because there are things that some of those organizations do that I can learn from and that can make me better. And so I recently became part of the board of directors for the League of Women Voters. And so, that's a wonderful experience because there's this whole other world that I'm learning about. And then there's certain skill sets that I'm able to bring to the table. I'm part of the Homelessness Action Committee. And so they're taking a lot of my feedback, which could essentially help policy at some point.
Good. We need that.
Yeah, Los Angeles definitely needs that.
Definitely needs that. So that's an interesting thing that we don't really talk about a lot as leaders, really getting out in the community beyond your work environment at Angel's Nest, but really spreading your wings in these leadership circles where you can, sort of encourage other leaders and be encouraged by leaders at the same time. There's a scripture that says iron sharpens iron.
Yes.
But be in those environments. And that's one of the things I'm trying to do a little bit more of. Because I'm a behind the desk kind of girl. I can just sit and be like, okay, we got to do this, we got to do this, we got to do that. But then when you grow to a certain point, you have to then delegate and learn how to delegate.
Yes.
How comfortable are you with delegating?
So that's a great question. And it's one of those things where I think for a lot of leaders, and I think for women, I think it's even more something that we face where it's difficult to delegate. And especially if you're a doer, if you're an executor, the way you do it is the best way to do it. And if someone else does it, we're going to cheers.
Sip every look, hold up. Yes, so many sippable moments, but yes.
Yes. And so, we get into that mindset. It has to be perfect, and I'm the only one that can do it this way. And if I give it to this person, they're going to do it the way that I wanted it. And if we stay in that, we're never going to grow.
Never.
We're never going to grow. So we have to let it go. And we have to be okay with it's not going to be exactly perfect, and it's not going to be exactly the way we're going to do it. But it's okay because we need to continue growing, and we need to get this done, and we need to get that done.
Absolutely.
So it's been hard for me too, and so I've been getting into the habit of delegating. It's always something in the back of my mind that you're going to have to start learning how to delegate. You're going to have to practice.
Yeah.
And you just do it. You just try to give this person this task, give that person that task, and watch them, and then give them advice and give them feedback so that they can get on track. So definitely that has been part of it. And as you mentioned, being involved in leadership in different areas of the community, and then what's the future for Angel's Nest and whatnot, it all kind of comes back full circle. And so many of the different things that I'm involved in with Century City Chamber, that helps me get donors.
That's good.
Right. And I do so much for that community, and I don't ask for anything, and it comes back.
Yes.
And it's wonderful.
Sowing and reaping. I like that.
It's really great. Or, League of Women Voters. There's women's issues that I'm really passionate about. I'm also very passionate about what happens in the foster youth space and the homelessness space. And so that gets to be something that I get to be part of.
That's so good. That's so good. And I'm learning to step out of my comfort zone of being behind the scene and just showing up in those circles as well. And me, like you said earlier, we tend to think we can do it better. My thing is, I can do it, but it's going to take me a lot longer than somebody who knows what they're doing and just jump in there and do it. Can I tell you what we need done? And you do it. I'll figure it out.
Sure.
I'm good at figuring it out.
Right.
But it just takes longer, and it does, it keeps you kind of stagnant in your growth. So I had a chance to listen to your TED Talk.
I listened to yours too.
And it was really good. I mean, we kind of talked about similar issues because foster care is definitely near and dear to both of our hearts. I want to know, how did that TEDx talk come about for you?
Thank you. It was during the pandemic, and I kept myself really busy.
Good.
I think a lot of people were either drinking a lot of alcohol or doing something productive. And so I really just tried to focus on being productive. And it's something I had wanted to do, but what was the message that I wanted to share on that platform? And so again, for me, especially that first one, it was a no-brainer. I knew I wanted to speak about, bring attention on the foster youth cause. And just like almost 10 years ago when I first got involved, that whole topic was so new to me. I didn't understand what was happening. And I realized if I don't know, I don't think a lot of people know what's going on.
Same experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I thought to myself too that, I'm similar to you. I believe in the good of people. I believe in the good of humanity. And I believe that if enough people know what's going on, I think people will rise to the occasion.
Absolutely.
And so I wanted to use that platform as an opportunity to shed light on what happens in foster care, but then specifically point out that about 85% of sex trafficking victims in America are kids from foster care. And there's so much that can be done on the prevention side And that's what we need to focus on. That's what we really need to do.
Absolutely. And spreading awareness is one of the first. If you haven't seen the TED Talk, I encourage you. We'll make sure to drop it in the link as well to go back and watch the TED Talk because it is an important message to share. But then you also wrote a book. The book came first, right?
No, I did not write. I have not written a book yet.
Okay, I thought you wrote a book. Maybe I'm thinking about the podcast.
Maybe
you
yes.
do have
Maybe
a podcast.
Yes, I do have a podcast. Yes, I have parts of my book written.
Okay,
it's not published
See, we're
yet.
manifesting this. You see that? What's going to be the title of the book?
Oh, there's a few. I'm working on a few.
See, y'all, I can see in the future there. All right. So tell me about the podcast.
So I have a couple podcasts, and one of them I completed one season. The other one I have 3 seasons. And
what's the title of the podcast?
So, Sexy Boss Babe.
I like it.
So I do have a small indie beauty brand of press-on nails. And the brand...
you should have brought me a few.
I know. You know what? I will send you some. And the brand identity is all about women empowerment. And so the tagline is be fierce, be bold, be empowered.
Oh, I love that.
Yes.
Ooh.
And a sexy boss babe has its own definition. It's about... body positivity, and you can be any size, shape, or color. Your beauty and your confidence comes from knowing your self-worth. And so the podcast is based on just women and female-centric topics. It could be about business, about mental health, learning how to say no, how do you set boundaries, things that as women, as we go through life and business, a lot of times we don't know those things, and it hinders our success, and it hinders our ability to move forward. So a lot of those types of topics are covered.
Learning how to say no and setting boundaries. Those
big
are 2 really big ones. Look, I need to tune in as much as I can because, yes, that's a struggle.
Yes.
But that is so amazing just to hear. And what made you start the podcast?
It all went together with the beauty brand. I wanted something to, I should also mention this part, which is a really big part of it. The beauty brand is also social impact. So a portion of our proceeds,
I like that.
Yes, it does go to charities that help foster youth and sex trafficking survivors. We've been a partner with CASA for many years. We do their glamour gowns, and we bring our nail products, and we do the nails for the girls every year.
We've gotten some of the nails because we partner with CASA and Glamour Gowns, and we got this case of different nails. So that's yours.
Yes, it probably is.
Y'all, she's been helping out even before I knew she was helping out. Amazing.
Yeah. And so, how is the brand going to stand apart from other brands, right?
Yes.
And so the podcast was kind of a natural thing. So it's to build community with the brand, bring women together, and empower, really.
Social impact is so important, and I don't think people realize just how they can make a difference just by supporting businesses and organizations that have a social impact model to it, because the support goes to supporting the causes that you're associated with. It's that, for me, it's that ripple effect of impact.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
where your
absolutely.
dollars are really making a difference, and you getting something in exchange for it.
Absolutely. And that's something that I say a lot, is that our strongest power is our dollar.
Yes.
And people make a big fuss about this and that, and capitalism and all kinds of stuff. But wherever you spend your money is what the producers are going to produce. So if you spend it on good things, the producers are going to create more good things.
Absolutely.
We have a lot of power as consumers.
Absolutely. I think that's the success of the stock market, right? You invest in things that you purchase and you buy, and you get a return on that investment. So I see the return on human capital, right?
Yes.
When you're investing in the lives of young people, and you're investing in the lives of causes and things like that, it's the ripple effect of that is just unparalleled.
Yes.
And it's so important.
Absolutely.
So I know we got... This time go by too quickly, right? Way too quickly. I want to know real quickly, so who are some of your favorite leaders that you admire, and how would your team describe you as a leader?
I don't think this is going to be a controversial one. I'm a big Elon fan. I love Elon.
Interesting.
I
Talk
know.
about it.
Yeah, I really like Elon a lot. When you talk about, I know he's very controversial. I probably shouldn't have said that.
No, that's your truth. You admire and like who you admire and like. We have the freedom to do that.
Sure.
All right. We got a few Tesla drivers in the building. I just want to say that. I'm not one of them.
Yeah.
Out of my price range, but I'm just not one of them.
You know, what's funny is I'm not a huge Tesla fan. I'm
Okay.
not a huge Tesla fan.
Okay.
I just, I see his heart. I know that it could sound strange, but I've watched a lot of his interviews.
Okay.
And I've seen him cry on things that he's so passionate about.
Really?
Absolutely. And it's very touching, and you can really see his a deep side of his humanity.
Wow.
And watching some of the documentaries like of SpaceX and
Okay.
seeing what he did with SpaceX. I mean, the United States space program went away, and essentially SpaceX is that next version or the next iteration of that.
Yeah.
And to see that one of the biggest reasons where the American space program declined was the cost of building rockets and spaceships.
Yes.
They spent, billions and trillions, or I don't know the exact dollar amount, on these rockets that were one-time use. And so he, through cost management, figured out a way to contain costs and create a rocket that can be used for multiple trips.
Wow.
So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
But he's definitely somebody that inspires me.
Good, good. Well, he is definitely a businessman,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
That's amazing. And when you were talking about Elon Musk, I remembered your film. That's where I was thinking book, but you actually produced a film.
I did.
Tell us about that film real quickly.
Yes.
That's the title I was thinking in my
Okay,
head, but it was
sure.
an actual film.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
So it's called Breaking the Cycle.
Yes.
And yes. And it's a short documentary, about 30 minutes, and it's about what happens in foster care as from the moment someone goes into foster care, what happens during their experience, and then what happens as they transition out. And there's a call to action in the film. So a lot of times people will watch a film or documentary and they think, oh my gosh, I'm so affected
can
by
I
this.
do?
What can I do? So we also included a call to action for the community, which has actually worked.
Yes.
We've shown the film locally here, different parts of the United States, a lot of bar associations, and
great.
people have signed up to become CASAs. People have made actual changes in their life to help this population. So, and that film, it's really about just educating the public. It just goes back to awareness, and it's like kind of like a crash course in what happens.
Yes. I think content and films is probably one of the fastest and most effective way to reach the masses, right? Because we're all content consumers.
Right.
Where can we watch the film?
You can actually watch it online. You can go to the Sexy Boss Babe website. There's a link there. You can watch it there.
Okay.
But if you just type in my first and last name, Arzo Yusuf, that will come up on Google. Yeah, it'll come
All
up.
right. Well, y'all know where to find it, right? So before we land the plane, tell me real quickly, how would your team describe you?
Oh goodness! When they're not mad at me, I guess we'll describe it there.
Yeah, that would be a different definition. I understand.
Sometimes I have to. This makes me laugh, but they'll definitely call me a workaholic.
Okay.
And there's times where they'll call me a robot.
A robot. That's
Yes.
a new one.
Yeah, because
Okay.
I sometimes later on I'll tell them that last month this personal thing happened in my life, and they're like, we wouldn't have known. You came to work and everything was, we just didn't know that you were going through that.
I love the transparency.
And so I share that with them, but it's also letting them kind of see that bad things are going to happen in life, but you can't fall apart. You
How
have
you
to
choose
keep going.
to respond to those things makes the difference.
Right. And so I think that's where the robot comes from.
Yes.
But that's what they've said before.
I love that. Absolutely love that. So before we go, I just want to know, what else would you like to share with our audience, especially as it pertains to leadership? And say you're talking to an aspiring leader, what would you tell them on their journey of growing as a leader?
Beautiful question. I would say have courage and be brave, and don't wait to be perfect.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me sip to that one too. Oh. Be courageous.
Yes. Be courageous, be
Be
brave.
brave and don't
wait
wait
to be perfect.
To be perfect.
Yeah.
You know what? Perfection is the procrastination for a lot of people, right? You want everything to be perfect.
Yeah.
But I say ascribe to Nike and just do it.
Just do it. I love Nike. Yes. Just do it.
because you are going to learn along the way.
Yes.
You're going to hit some curve bumps
Yeah.
along the way.
Yeah.
And I tell people that a lot just from building an organization from ground zero. It's like, did you know what you were doing? Absolutely not.
Right.
I was doing what made sense along the way.
Yes.
And of course, connecting with like-minded people as much as I could.
Yeah.
But what I did find was that it was hard to talk to other leaders
Yes.
in my shoes. So for me, this platform gives aspiring leaders and even seasoned leaders an opportunity to gain nuggets and learn from others' journey.
Absolutely. I don't think it matters if you're seasoned or not. There's always something
You're always
to learn
learning.
from. Absolutely.
You're always learning.
Absolutely.
Arzo, this has been amazing.
For me too.
Thank you so much. Man, where did the time? I promise you, I feel like these interviews just like 5 minutes long, right?
I know.
And we're moving so quickly, but this has been amazing. Thank you so much. I
Thank
cannot
you.
wait to share it.
Me too.
But guys, that is our show for today. I know you probably feeling like I am. You're not ready for it to be over. But until next time, please remember to do those 3 magical words: like, share, and subscribe. And I hope that you've heard something today that will help you on your leadership journey. So until next time, have a wonderful Leadership Realities Day. Bye now.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is our show for today. I hope you were inspired and you gained some valuable nuggets that will help you to become a better leader and to walk in your God-given authority. Bye, until next time.